Who are those? Romans. Who are those? Some of the guys expanding their land and trading all over the place too. But without elephants. Don't like that. Today, we'll tell you about the history of Rome, the Punic Wars. Once upon a time, there were purple fabrics that looked cute, made by some people who lived around here. Whoa, you look purple. I'll call you Phoenician, which means purple in Greek. The Phoenicians traded purple and non-purple things, which made them wealthy. So they founded a bunch of cities, including Carthage, which later blew up into a huge empire. And they ruled the southeastern Mediterranean Sea and the north, up to what is Spain today, until they came across these guys called Romans, who were also trading big time. Carthage and Rome got along pretty well, but they both longed for control over the Mediterranean Sea. One day, in this place, there was a governor named Agathocles, who had hired mercenaries to fight a war that we won't explain right now. Well, he died, so his mercenaries were now unemployed and homeless. That's why they took over this place called Messina, settled there, and rebranded as Mamertines. The Mamertines began to plunder the neighboring cities, until Herod II, the new king of Syracuse, got fed up with their existence and announced he was going to attack them. The Mamertines reached out to their nearby friends, asking for some help. Hi Carthage, would you help me against Syracuse? Hi Rome, would you help me against Syracuse? And Carthage sent them help. But I already sent help. Sir, we don't feel comfortable around Carthage. They must leave. You gotta choose. Carthage took this small incident very badly, so it deployed its army to attack Messina. And that's how the First Punic War started. And two teams were formed, Syracuse and Carthage, led by Herod II and Hannibal, against Messina and Rome, led by the Mamertines and the Roman consuls. Because this was the time of the Roman Republic, and there were not just one, but two consuls, running everything. And we made a series about Rome, where we talk about the Roman Republic, and we will leave the link somewhere in here. Rome attacked first, and managed to have Herod and Hannibal to back off for a bit. But Syracuse and Carthage were still allies. That's why Rome considered Syracuse as a threat, so they sent its legions to attack them. Herod too chickened out, so he broke his alliance with Carthage and allied with Rome instead. We didn't even like those Carthaginians that much. Rome moved its legions to Syracuse and laid siege in Agrigento to prevent the Carthaginians from using the city as a military base. We'd better give up. But Hannibal the Great showed up with his elephants and lost. So Rome took Agrigento and concluded that to achieve complete victory over Carthage, they needed to conquer all of Sicily and Corsica and Sardinia. And please subscribe and click the bell icon so that we can continue buying canned goods. And if you also subscribe to our Patreon, maybe we can buy even more canned goods. And you will be making your not local animators very happy. However, all of that was at sea, and Carthage had a large fleet of warships. Therefore, the Romans had no choice but to build warships as well, which they managed to do in a 2-month span, with cutting-edge technology like this mechanical bridge with a spike called the Corvus, which allowed them to ram and board Carthaginian ships and engage in close combat at sea. They clashed, and the Romans won the Battle of Mylae. They also won several other battles on land and sea, which led them to acquire a significant portion of Sicilian territory. They then landed in Africa, in Carthage's territory, winning the battles of Aspis and Attis, until reaching present-day Tunisia. Carthage could not allow Rome to take over Tunisia, because that would be the end for them. So they hired a brutal Spartan named Xanthippus, who called out the incompetence of the Carthaginian generals, and also trained the soldiers. And the elephants back there, can I use them as well? Sure, but they're huge and heavy. Well, yeah, that's like the whole point. Xanthippus placed the elephants in the front line and crushed the Romans, literally, and drove them out of Africa. So Rome sent a fleet of ships to rescue the survivors and bring them back to Rome, but they sank in a storm. Then they sailed back to Africa to attack Carthage, and they sank in another storm. Back to Sicily, Rome had Drepanum and Lilybaeum under siege, which were the only cities Carthage still had in Sicily. But Rome defeated the Carthaginian fleet in the Battle of the Aegates. As a result, they agreed to sign the Treaty of Lutatius, in which Carthage would withdraw completely from Sicily, pay 3,200 talents to Rome in 10 years, and they agreed not to attack each other. So after 23 years of war, there was finally peace. But a chaotic peace, because Carthage was broke and couldn't afford to pay all the mercenaries it had hired to fight Rome. The mercenaries rebelled and started the Mercenary War. In the meantime, I'm going to take Corsica and Sardinia real quick. Don't. But we still have to pay them. There must be a more practical way to pay. Sir, there is not a more practical way to pay than actually paying. Kill them all. So, no more debt, no more problems. Hamilcar Barca was a prominent Carthaginian general and a member of one of the most powerful families in Carthage. He hated the Romans. From now on, you will train with the army. You must seek revenge on the Romans. Promise you will. Okay. But Hannibal was only 9 years old. Hamilcar couldn't face the Romans yet. Instead, he went to conquer the Iberian Peninsula, to gain strength and prepare for a future confrontation with the Romans. But he died. Then, Hasdrubal the Fair, his son-in-law, took over. Hasdrubal was a skilled diplomat, so he made several deals with Rome, joining forces to fight against the Celts, but he was killed. Hannibal Barca was now a grown guy, who had spent his whole life training for a military career. He became the ruler of the Iberian lands, and general of Carthage's army, and he was not that diplomatic. Hannibal crossed the Roman border, so Rome declared war on him. And that's how the Second Punic War started. The Romans were feeling confident because their fleet was ready to fight at sea. It's all good, let's just keep an eye on the sea and stay alert. What about the backside? I beg your pardon? The Alps. Nobody's watching over the Alps. Oh, the Alps. Right, they can watch over themselves. It's so wild no one can make it through. But that's just what Hannibal did. He made it through the Alps with his elephants. But a bunch of people died, because everything was deadly wild. And they began to fight major battles, among them, the Battle of Ticinus, in which Rome was defeated. Hannibal made significant progress, until he lost support from Carthage. This happened because Hasdrubal was busy losing allied territory in the Iberian Peninsula, and on top of that, Rome had cut off the supply lines at sea. But wasn't Hasdrubal dead? this is a different Hasdrubal. Hasdrubal Barca, Hannibal Barca's brother. Then, General Quintus Fabius Maximus cornered Hannibal in southern Italy, but he still put up a good fight. But Scipio decided to attack Carthage, prompting Hannibal to move there to defend his territory, and they faced off in the Battle of Zama, where Rome won. So Hannibal had to negotiate peace with Rome. Okay, you'll have to give up your land in Spain. Okay. You'll have to give us 10,000 silver talents. Okay. Every year. For 50 years. Okay. And one more thing. You need my consent to start any war. And finally, there was peace. And Hannibal could remain magistrate of Carthage, but Rome and Carthage teamed up and conspired against him. So he fled. Then, one day, he hopped on his horse, fell off, and accidentally cut one of his toes with a sword and died. Because his toe got infected. Or he took a poison from his ring. We don't know. Carthage kept trading as usual. Then, one day, while they were busy trading, the people from Massinissa felt like taking over Carthage's flourishing trading industry. Carthage didn't appreciate that, so they attacked Massinissa. Rome considered it a breach of their peace treaty, and in response, they sent their legions to Carthage. Carthage had no intentions to fight Rome, so they quickly gave up. New terms and conditions. All of the above, plus, give us your fleet. Fine. And your military equipment. Alright. Including weapons and all that. Okay. Plus 300 children. No problem. You must also leave this place, for we will destroy the city. What? No way. That's how the Third Punic War started. Rome laid siege to Carthage and built a wall around the city's existing wall. As a result, Carthage could not receive supplies. But the Carthaginians refused to give up, so they worked non-stop building weapons as fast as they could. For 3 years. By 146 BC, Carthage was overcrowded. There was famine and diseases too. The Romans decided it was time to attack. And after several days of battle, the city was burned, and the citizens were executed. Those who survived were sold as slaves. Carthage was looted and destroyed to the ground, and all its land was absorbed by Rome. The Carthaginian Empire disappeared, and the Roman Empire was born. Why are you troubled? Because my country was destroyed. Oh, well, you can be a wild elephant now. Oh,